Palmetto Middle School, or Creek Bridge High School. In Dillon County, Dillon Middle School, Lakeview High School, and Latimer Early Childhood Center. In Florence County, you can still go to several high schools: Wilson High, South Florence High, Lake City High, Timmonsville High School, and Hannah Pamplico Elementary Middle School.
As for Marlboro County, you can go to Blenheim Elementary Middle. That is still open. And in Darlington County, you can go to Darlington Middle School right there. Also shelters in Robeson County to keep in mind. Again, we updated you about an hour ago saying the shelter at Lumberton High School is at capacity. It's full, so they're advising you to go to the 4 other shelters there at Purnell Sweat High, St. Paul's High, Fairmont Middle, and South Robeson High.
In Scotland County, you can head to Scotland High School. It's open for now. For addresses to any of these shelters, just head to WPDE.com. And it's great that that shelter is at capacity in Robeson County. It means a lot of people are getting out of the storm's path. But you were talking earlier, there's still room for thousands of people.
Well, at least when it comes to the state of South Carolina,
right,
for sure. I can't remember the exact number. I want to say it was 37,000 people can still go to shelters.
Right.
The last update from South Carolina Emergency Management said they're only at 10% capacity. And as of last night, they had more than 4,600 people staying in the 66 shelters across the state.
Several emergency rescue crews and hundreds of volunteers are still on their way to the Carolina coast.
Ted Oberg with ABC 13 out of Houston. He caught up with Taylor Fontenot as one of the members of the Cajun Navy. We were telling you about them earlier. They're actually in New Bern right now helping with rescues. They're bringing dive gear, rappelling harnesses, first aid supplies, and boats.
We didn't have a stove last time, so that's going to be real nice.
Taylor Fontenot is a roofer by trade. He was drafted into America's Cajun Navy during Harvey by need.
I went out that first night, and going out and saving people saved my life. We did 35,000 rescues in 10 days. That was insane. Adrenaline, I found out, is a hell of a drug.
Since Harvey, it's been a pretty busy year.
We went into the Keys for Irma. After that, it was all Puerto Rico. We had 2 teams there, and over 6 weeks, we distributed 300,000 meals. And then Mobile, Alabama, and now Carolinas.
Taylor will leave his Sugar Land home tomorrow morning, headed for the Carolinas.
They're talking hitting as a Cat 4, 140 mile per hour winds, 60 miles inland, and then stalling and raining, 6 days worth of rain in 48 hours.
As he continued to pack, he told us he's expecting 200 to 300 boats from Texas and Louisiana to make this 18-hour trip. They'll meet hundreds of boats up here. There's no magical funding for this effort. It's volunteer hours and donated gas money, but in what's been an incredibly busy year, all that is running pretty low for America's Cajun Navy. It's no matter. The forecast calls for flooding, so Taylor's on the way.
We're just going to go and do everything we can and see if we can keep it a zero casualty event.
Well, and again, these volunteers are crucial during situations like this, as we've heard throughout this morning, as active water rescues going on along the east coast of North Carolina.
Back here at home, if you're just waking up, conditions have deteriorated from this morning. We were checking in with Dan Lamparello in Myrtle Beach. He's been there since 1 or 2 o'clock this morning, and those wind gusts have picked up, and now you're starting to see a little bit of damage.
Yeah, guys, we saw some damage earlier today, kind of down in downtown, and the wind has really significantly increased since we got out in the field here early this morning around 1 or 2 in the morning. Rain, though, hasn't really been too bad. There was a little bit this morning. There goes my hat. There was a little bit this morning, but it's kind of deteriorated since then. But I want to show you over here. We obviously had people preparing for this storm, and these people here, to make sure that their sign doesn't blow away, they decided to add all of these ropes that come right down over here to the gas pump. These are pretty sturdy, but we'll see how good they go for the wind gusts that we're expecting over here. And if we head under here, you know, we don't have that much rain just yet, but we do know that that is coming. The wind, though, is what we're really concerned about right now, especially here in downtown. A lot of places have kept the billboards up, and this billboard here has those kind of, you see the crab up there, he looks like he's kind of waving at you, but those pieces are kind of flopping around, and we've been here for the past half hour, and we've seen a few pieces already start to fly off, so we're worried that we might start to see some more of that. The other thing we've seen here in downtown is the power flickering on and off. We've seen a number of power lines arcing and transformers arcing because of the high winds. Luckily, no widespread power outages downtown just yet, but it's something we're definitely going to continue to monitor over the next half hour or so as these winds are supposed to get a little bit more intense. Definitely not too much damage as of yet, but I'm sure those reports will continue to come in throughout the morning. For now, we're live in downtown. I'm Dan Lamparello. We'll send it back inside to you.
All right, thank you, Dan, so much. Now we go out to another live reporter. We're going to go to the South Strand now, looking pretty similar.
Yeah, Amanda Kenseth Station now in Surfside Beach, taking in what it looks like there. Good morning, Amanda.
Good morning. That's right. Yeah, and I wanted to give you an above look because I want you to take a look at this. The next time you see it, it will probably look a lot different. Of course, the tide is fairly low right now, and if we can, I want to take a look down too. If you go straight down, look at the rocks, look at the deck that's down here. Now, this is all the stuff that was rebuilt after Hurricane Matthew, and because of that, they're hoping obviously that this hurricane doesn't go up and tear it up, but the storm surge, when it starts to come in, it could likely get, as they're saying, 6 feet high. So this entire beach, low tide right now, even at low tide, it will be high. It will come all the way up to the buildings. And an indicator of the wind, if you look at the sand, it's actually pretty amazing to watch this sand that is just floating and swirling above the sand. It's making these little circular motions. So you can see that. And the wind gusts, are pretty significant, and they have been this morning. So we're keeping an eye on the storm and when it comes in. And we haven't had any rain yet in Garden City. It has rained on and off slightly in Surfside Beach, and we've heard about some power flicking on and off there as well. But we're just kind of waiting to get the brunt of this storm as it heads our way. In Garden City, I'm Amanda Kenseth.
Got off the beach there because when that sand's whipping around, it does not feel good.
No, absolutely not. We have some new video of flooding. This is of the Pungo River in Belhaven, North Carolina. Look at that. Wow, the water has risen dramatically in just a few hours. That was this morning. You can see all that flooding has reached up to windows of the building. This video was taken by Amy Johnson. We appreciate you sharing this, but it is hard to imagine the water that high right now.
Yeah, looking out your window and seeing all that water just outside. More video out of Wilmington, again, bearing the brunt of the storm. Trees blowing in the wind, rain blowing sideways. The city is under a flash flood warning, along with the towns of Murraysville and Leland until 6:15. I guess that expired this morning, but still inundated with water, so it doesn't matter really. Officials there have urged residents to stay inside their homes, stay away from the windows. What a mess.
And here, check this out, is a look at Wilmington around the time the eye wall of Hurricane Florence hit the North Carolina coast. You can see here a car barely missing a down signal light. Wow, they got lucky. I don't know why anyone is out on the roads right now. We want to take this opportunity to remind you this is not the time at all to be out on the roads. Obviously, this is video out of Wilmington, but it's really the case for our whole area, and it's going to be that way today, tomorrow too, maybe even Sunday. We'll keep you up to date, but there's going to be a lot of rain and flooding, debris, downed trees. The driver in that vehicle you saw was struggling to see something pretty obvious, like a low-hanging street light.
That's true, and Dan was showing us downtown some bits of metal, just small pieces of awning can really become a weapon once the winds get even stronger. So how is Hurricane Florence being tracked so easily on the route it is taking from the ocean?
Catherine Bauer from WQAD in Illinois is showing us how researchers track Florence through weather balloons.
A big white balloon
Should almost be there.
making its first and only launch.
Okay, Jim, we're ready to go out here.
System monitoring for launch. You're armed and ready to launch.
Got a parachute on it, just like your rockets?
A birthday balloon going through outer space.
With one young fan to see it off.
I wanted to show him the weather balloon and explain to him what the hurricane is.
Can you tell me what a hurricane is?
A tornado.
This weather balloon will travel roughly 20 miles into the sky to collect data to help predict Hurricane Florence's path towards the East Coast.
We've been releasing weather balloons every 6 hours to get that added information.
The National Weather Service here at the Davenport Airport is now launching twice as many weather balloons for the National Hurricane Center.
But it does go into the computer models. So
Sensors on the weather balloon collect information that's sent back to the station. It measures wind speed and direction, temperature, pressure, and humidity.
It's a good place to get additive information, especially on what the westerly winds will be doing, which will help be the steering influence on where the storm tracks.
And the data collected here is just a piece of a larger puzzle.
Here you can see the hurricane.
It's analyzed along with data from about 80 other National Weather Service centers across the country.
The more data, the accurate data that's put into the models, the better the models can come out with a result.
Researchers here will keep releasing balloons every 6 hours until Friday afternoon, when Hurricane Florence is expected to make landfall.
I think they're scary, but I'm not scared at all.
Something this weather boy doesn't mind missing.
All right, let's get you updated on what's going on out there right now. We take a live look at our sky cam from Murrells Inlet. This, of course, is Veterans Pier, and we're looking out across the inlet over toward Garden City. Clouds are moving by pretty quickly. Not much rain out there right now, but if you look very carefully, the wind is actually blowing out to sea here. That's a northwesterly wind, so it's actually pushing water away. Of course, it is near low tide as well, so no issues at all with the storm surge, not only at low tide, but probably at high tide today, simply because we have that strong offshore flow. The worst of the storm surge may actually be as we head through Saturday around the time of high tide. We'll talk about that here in just a second. But there are the thick clouds over Murrells Inlet right now. Let's take a look at the radar. And just a matter of minutes from now, Hurricane Florence will officially make landfall very close to Wilmington, specifically very close to Wrightsville Beach. Here is the center of circulation. Once that point crosses the coastline between Wrightsville Beach and Myrtle Grove, the Hurricane Center will, of course, say that was the official landfall. That's kind of a moot point, quite frankly, just because it doesn't matter with all the rain that we have coming, but that'll be something that'll be entered into the archives. Back closer to home, we've got some scattered showers moving through the area right now, and I know some of you are waking up, and if you haven't been following us, you're probably wondering, well, where's all this rain we're supposed to have? We knew it was going to be pretty quiet Thursday. We knew it was going to be pretty quiet this morning as well, and we know all this rain you see here is headed our way. The center of this hurricane is going to move west, slowly grinding through southern North Carolina and, of course, northeastern South Carolina. It'll cover about 90 miles over the course of 24 hours. That is incredibly slow motion. So once that rain moves into the area, it is here to stay for a long, long time. Right now, some bands of light rain moving through the area from Aynor to Conway, down to Myrtle Beach and Carolina Forest, into the Socastee area as well, and a few more showers into Loris and North Myrtle Beach. But you can clearly see this extremely heavy rainfall, widespread rain, now just over the state line in eastern Columbus County, down into Shallotte and Bug Hill. It is a matter of time. It'll be moving into Little River and Longs, likely in the next 15 to 20 minutes. And then the rain will continue, become more widespread and heavier as it moves inland. But it will be a gradual process. Here's what's happening across the PD right now. Some moderate showers moving through Sellers and Marion and east of Pamplico over toward Mullins. This is moving southwest as well. As some of these showers roll through, you may get a quick burst of wind, but we're not expecting real high wind for right now. Not until some of the bigger bands actually come in. That's when the winds will actually increase some. Up on the border belt here, Laurinburg back toward Bennettsville, we've got some showers moving to the southwest as well. It's really going to be later this afternoon and tonight for the PD and border belt before you get the rainfall. So you still have today to decide if you're in a flood-prone area, can I go somewhere else? You might want to consider that when you consider how much rainfall we're going to get in the area. Don't let the fact that it's not raining very much today or it's scattered fool you, because there's no question the big rains are coming your way as we head through the day. And Futurecast bears that out. Here we are, 7 o'clock this morning on Futurecast. It's showing some of those leading bands getting into the eastern parts of Horry County with not much inland. There's the center of the storm, very close to Wilmington. We head toward high noon. Some of those heavier rains moving into Columbus and Horry counties, spreading westward now. Some rain across the PD, but again, even at noon, not much going on here. Most of the action will be right along the immediate coast. At 5 o'clock, here comes the center moving into Columbus County. The very heavy rainfall is slowly moving westward. We're starting to see some heavier bands set up across the PD and on the border belt. This is toward the end of the day. And then as we head through the evening hours toward midnight, there's the center pretty much over Horry County at this point in time, likely weakening to a tropical storm, but the rains will continue and they will be relentless. The amount of rain you get in a tropical system really isn't proportional to the strength of the system. And what I mean by that, it doesn't matter how strong the system is, a weaker tropical depression is capable of even more rainfall than a hurricane if it's slow moving. Bottom line, the slower a storm is, the more rain you typically get. You think about Hurricane Hugo. It roared through North and South Carolina at 28 to 30 miles per hour. So nobody got more than about 5 to 8 inches of rain in Hurricane Hugo. And then you have a situation like this, where you have a tropical storm, for all intent and purposes, moving through our area that will wring out a tremendous amount of moisture across the area. So beyond midnight on Saturday, we head towards 7 o'clock in the morning, and there they are, the bands of heavy rainfall, and they could be just about anywhere, but especially north and east of the center. That's why the rainfall totals are highest on the border belt, because that's where the highest rainfall will likely be. Even south and west of there will be heavy rainfall through the day on Saturday and Saturday night. That's why the totals will pile up here as well, but by far the highest rainfall totals will be over the northern parts of our area. Notice as the system is moving to the west of Florence by 5 o'clock. We get on the east and northeast side of this system, and the circulation around that is pulling deep tropical moisture off the Atlantic Ocean into our area. So some of the heaviest rain may actually come Saturday afternoon and Saturday night with these tremendous tropical bands setting up over our area. They will continue into midnight on Saturday, and while it looks like we get a break, some of these big bands will begin to be pulled westward as well as the tropical system is moving into the upstate of South Carolina. So Sunday afternoon, there will likely be some scattered areas of heavy downpours as well. But it seems at this point in time, the heaviest of the rain will begin in Horry and Georgetown counties over the next few hours, slowly spread westward across the rest of the PD and on the border belt through the afternoon and evening hours. I think widespread heavy rainfall from time to time as we head through Friday night, just about all day Saturday and into Saturday night as well. And where those intense bands set up will ultimately determine where flash flooding will occur. But I think that's pretty much a given when you consider up to 20 inches of rain in our area. And here is that forecast, pretty much unchanged at this point in time, but areas on the border belt very well could get 20 inches of rain, if not more, from Lumberton over toward Laurinburg, perhaps just east of Bennettsville, down toward Dillon, Lakeview, and Kemper, out toward Nichols, unfortunately, and in Mullins as well. That could be the case in Greensea and Floyd's, and also down toward Loris. 15 to 20 inches of rain possible on the north end of the Strand from North Myrtle Beach to Myrtle Beach. That includes Conway, Marion, Centenary, back over toward Florence and Lamar, and also out near Francis Marion University, back through Darlington and Hartsville, up toward Bennettsville, and of course Cheraw as well. South end of the Grand Strand throughout much of Williamsburg County, more in the order of about 10 to 15 inches here. And that activity will be a little bit lighter than what we have up here, but bottom line, plenty of heavy rain for the entire area. That means, of course, flash flooding is expected in our area through Saturday, Saturday night, and into Sunday as well. All right, let's talk about the wind. 54-mile-per-hour wind gusts right now in North Myrtle Beach. That's one shy of the highest we've recorded since we've been impacted by this system. 55 was the highest wind gust we had last night in Lumberton. Winds gusting to 43 right now in Myrtle Beach, 40 in Marion, and we still got a wind gust right now of 35 in the city of Florence. Around the Carolinas, still gusting to 83 miles per hour right now in Wilmington. They are in the eye wall, the western eye wall. That's where the highest winds typically are, the most rain, the most intense rain, and of course, the place where you typically get the most destruction, especially when it comes to storm surge. All right, check out some of the buoys here. Hurricane force winds have subsided out at this buoy out east of Cape Lookout. Same for Frying Pan Shoals. That's simply because the hurricane is moving to the west. Notice the wind speeds in Wrightsville Beach down to 18 miles per hour. They are literally in the eye of the hurricane right now, and it wouldn't surprise me to see those winds drop off to basically nothing. So they go from a raging wind with gusts up to the 80, 90 miles per hour to basically nothing. And then the wind will actually change direction and pick up and be as strong, if not stronger, because by the time we get to the other side of the eye, the winds will be screaming off the ocean where there's a little less friction. Therefore, the wind speeds can actually be higher with things not slowing them down. Although when wind gets over land, has a tendency to be gustier because of that. Some of the drag on the ground, if you will, helps to pull some of the stronger winds from aloft down toward the ground. Let's take a look at our peak wind gust forecast as we head through the day. And overall, it's pretty much right, spot on right now. 30s and low 40s inland. We've got some wind gusts up in the 50s right now along the Grand Strand. We head toward high noon. 50s and 60s. That's probably the wind gusts we'll have over Horry, Columbus, and New Hanover and Brunswick counties. You head farther to the west here, still gusting in the 30s and 40s across the PD and on the border belt. Later in the afternoon on Friday could be some of the highest winds around the area. 40s and 50s. Wouldn't surprise me to see a few wind gusts up near hurricane force. That being, of course, over Horry and Georgetown counties, especially the northern parts of the county. We head through the overnight hours on Friday up toward midnight. Widespread wind gusts in the 40s and 50s. And Zach, you got something to add?
Yeah, if we can bring my mic up, we've got official landfall now.
Okay.
The center of the eye making landfall now near Wrightsville Beach,
Okay.
North Carolina. As of 7:15 a.m., the center located at 34.2 North, 77.8 West, which is Wrightsville Beach. Maximum sustained winds continue to be seen at 90 miles per hour, so really no weakening, but no strengthening as expected. And the central pressure actually at 9:58. NOAA is still observing their station there in Wrightsville Beach, but again, just in seconds ago from the Hurricane Center, Hurricane Florence making landfall at 7:15 a.m. in Wrightsville Beach.
And that makes perfect sense when you see this graphic right here, Wrightsville Beach with winds only at 18 miles per hour. And as you well know, in the center of a hurricane in the eye, the winds can go dead calm, especially if you're right in the middle of it. And as I mentioned, the wind will pick up dramatically on the backside here as the eye begins to move away over the next couple of hours or so and be screaming from the other direction. All right, here's another look at the wind gusts, and I've already covered through noon here, so let's get you back toward the late afternoon and certainly into the evening. And as you see, winds will gust right on through midnight in the 40s and 50s. The actual center of this storm will likely begin to move a little bit more westerly as we head through time. So there may be times as that center is crossing our area that the winds will get fairly light, especially as we head through Saturday morning as the system is moving through Horry County. But the wind's still howling, 40s and 50s on the border belt and across the PD, while over Horry County, because of the relative closeness to the center here, wind gusts in the 20s and 30s. But those winds will likely begin to pick back up as we head through Saturday, 20s, 30s, and 40s, a little bit higher back to the north and west. And then eventually, this system will move on to the west, and our winds will actually lighten considerably as we head through Saturday night and Sunday. As we mentioned, the wind is not that big of a deal for us, with wind gusts occasionally in the 60s and 70s everywhere. All right, low risk of a tornado threat as we head through Saturday and Saturday night and into Sunday as well. Not much of risk today, perhaps increasing later on tonight as the center of low pressure begins to go to the west. So, all right, let's take a look now at the storm surge. 4 to 6 feet is expected. As you saw a little while ago, the tide is extremely low right now. So even at high tide, you won't see that any more than about 1 to 2 feet above the normal high tide, thanks to that strong northwesterly wind blowing the water out. What's known as a blowout tide. Very strong winds really makes the low tide very low, even though we have a push from Hurricane Florence toward the coast. 12 a.m. tonight, 40 to 60 mile per hour westerly winds in gusts. That should push the water away as well. So perhaps a 2 to 4 rise in the storm surge. Saturday around 1 o'clock, 4 to 6 feet is possible, because about that time we still have some pretty strong winds, and they're coming directly off the ocean now. And of course, that's a push right on shore that could inundate some of the coastline. Sunday morning at 1 a.m., that could be a much higher than normal high tide as well, with the winds out of the southeast at about 20 to 40 miles per hour. So we've got you up to date on what's happening right now and what's to come. Remember, even if you're not getting much rain for much of this day, especially inland, it is coming, and when it gets here, it is going to be incredibly heavy across our area. Okay. I have my producer talking to me. Can you give me her name one more time? All right, let's head to Maxine Bensel. She is in Wilmington, North Carolina, in the eye wall.
That's right. We are in the eye wall right now, just about 3 miles from Wrightsville Beach, where that eye is right now. And we are experiencing, yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me? I hope so. Okay, well, we're in that eye wall right now, and like you said, those heavy winds are starting to pick up. About a half hour ago, there was this eerie kind of lull. And you can see what we're experiencing here for the most part is a lot of downed trees right now. Look how close this one came to the car. This is the home that we're staying in. We can't actually get out of the driveway right now. And let's walk around a little bit this way. You can see the enormity of this tree here that came down. And they are all through this neighborhood uprooted. We'll take you a little further down the street here. You can see the roots of the tree. This is a big tree that came down right here. A lot of flying debris in the area right now, all up and down the road. We can have another tree right here that is also down. And I'd say this is one of at least a dozen in this Wilmington neighborhood, just a couple miles from Wrightsville Beach. At the end of this road, we're starting to see some flash flooding as well. And those winds, like I said, just really picking up in about the last half hour. It was windy here all night, hard to get a good night's sleep. We're going to try to get closer down to that Wrightsville Beach area later on this morning. Like I said, we can't get our car out of the driveway right now with the downed trees. But we're just in that eye wall right now, those heavy winds, the rain starting to pick up once again. And we're just kind of waiting to see what happens. But now that the sun has come up, things are a little less scary. So we're just keeping an eye on things, and we'll check back in with you guys in just a little bit. Reporting in Wilmington, I'm Maxine Bensel.
All right, let's get to some power outages. I've done the math. It looks like over 10,000 people are without power. This is across our entire area, and these are all of the different electric cooperatives. We're going to start with Ori Electric Cooperative. Just give me a second here. I'm trying to figure out the totals. We're looking at over 4,000 people. This is just Ori Electric Cooperative customers across our area. That's the outage map. You can see a lot of the outages are up there on the North Strand, and then sort of inland looks like let me see, here's at the Conway area, and we're reporting thousands of people without power in each of these outages. Next, we're going to take a look at another utility company. As you know, we have about 4 we're monitoring. And again, those power outages, over 10,000 people. This is across our viewing area. So that's PD, Border Belt, Myrtle Beach, South Strand, Conway, Horry County. Are we going to take another utility crew?
Well, just to chime in here, at this point, I know you said more than 10,000 people without power, but relatively sporadic at this point as we start to get more wind gusts in. But just to put that in perspective, statewide for North Carolina, more than 372,000 people without power there.
Yeah, and that Santee Cooper map, like you were just saying, they're sort of scattered. It's not one general area where 5,000 people are without. There's scattered outages. Some are impacting 10 customers, some 1,500. So we'll keep you updated, but if you have an outage that you have not reported yet, you can go to your utilities outage map and make sure they know about it.
Let's go ahead and check in now with Zach Covey. Well, actually, before we go to Zach, let's show you some more video that we're getting into our newsroom at this hour.
This is a super typhoon threatening the Philippines right now. Sorry, we're just getting all of this information into our newsroom. Again, this is the typhoon we've been telling you about out of the Philippines. Look at the wind gusts there.
Yeah, several storms happening across our planet right now.
All right, not sure where we're going next. What are we doing, guys?
Let's go ahead and check in with Zach. He's ready to go. Zach, go ahead and take it away for us.
Yeah, and for all of our viewers just joining us, good morning. I'm meteorologist Zach Covey. As Hurricane Florence has now officially made landfall over Wrightsville Beach. I believe on the phone we have meteorologist Les Still. Les, can you hear me? No, we don't have the phoner. All right, we're going to try our hardest to continue to get meteorologist Les Still on. If you're just joining us, we are simulcasting across both South Carolina and North Carolina right now. Our sister station in New Bern, North Carolina, located right here, actually had to evacuate last night due to floodwaters coming up to their station. And so we're going to try eventually to get meteorologist Les Still, who works at our sister station there, on the phone. We'll try to do that in a little bit. Right now, let's talk about this because, again, we welcome our viewers from New Bern, North Carolina, and Havelock, and Bayboro, Vanceboro, and Washington. We're going to give you guys an update on your weather as well as you continue to watch our broadcast here. And we are dealing still with these feeds of tropical moisture just rotating in counterclockwise. We're talking some pretty heavy rain right now across Bayboro, Aurora, and along that US 17 corridor coming down from Washington, moving through Vanceboro at this hour. Now, in this yellow color, it's about an inch of rain per hour. So again, this type of rainfall is just adding to what is already on the ground. And keep in mind, the residents here in New Bern, they didn't flood because of the rainfall. They flooded because of the storm surge. And yes, New Bern is rather inland, but when you think of all the rivers and the tributaries that come on through this city, and you think about all of that water being pushed up it, it makes sense why the storm surge continues to be a major concern for the residents in New Bern. And then on top of that, you're adding this type of rain. You're adding this 1 to 1.5 inches of rainfall, which continues to rotate on through the city of New Bern and Rose Corner and Caton and Reelsboro. And you really begin to realize that this is a very dire situation for residents in that region. Let's talk about the rain totals over the past 24 hours from Vandermeer over to New Bern. Really not a lot of rain. We're talking 4 to 6 inches. And like I said, it's not been the rain that's been the issue for our North Carolina viewers. It has been the storm surge. Now that does change because WCTI actually covers out here. And take a look at Cedar Island. Take a look at Vandermeer. You're talking the 6-10, as much as 13 inches in that black color right there as it's rotating on shore. So the rain within the actual central locations of New Bern and Vanceboro, not necessarily as heavy as that coastal influx. Now here's the thing, I still think this area of Greenville, of Kinston, of Vanceboro, of New Bern, you guys will eventually get totals like this, but it will happen over a longer period of time, a 24-hour period of time. A tornado watch is also in effect. In fact, this is a brand new watch that has been issued, and you see that time. It's through 5 p.m. Good morning, 7:47 a.m. here on the East Coast, and we've got this tornado watch going through 5 p.m. You are on this northern fringe of the storm, and as the storm moves through, you get a lot of wind shear within these levels. You get the winds going basically from the the southeast at the surface, but aloft you're getting them more out of the northeast, and that creates a lot of wind shear with two different directions of winds trying to battle it out, and that's how you can get those very brief spin-ups. So we'll be watching this entire region from New Bern through Bath, out through the Kill Devil Hills, Cape Hatteras, Cedar Island region, including Morehead City as well, for the potential for tornadoes. Right now on our tornado warning map, we are not seeing any warnings, and that is some good news. It's really the rain and the wind. Here's our futurecast, even into Saturday. Notice we're still dealing with rain. The only good news is look at this area. We're starting to see some of those breaks. We're not seeing that steady rain as you're going to see today. Don't get me wrong, Friday is going to be a very rainy day for your region, but as we roll into our Saturday, more and more breaks will begin to appear. Doesn't mean you're not going to see rain, as we still have some of these outer bands rotating through the region across much of central North Carolina, from Aurora through Atlantic, Cape Hatteras, Williamston, and Rocky Mount. Still dealing with a lot of this moderate rainfall even through that 9 p.m. hour on our Saturday. Kinston still dealing with rain by 1 a.m. on our Sunday, and same with Havelock. And remember, some of these bands may be moderate to heavy across the region, so we will continue to look at a lot of very heavy rain. Now you look at our wind speeds right now and you say, well, we're not getting wind speeds in Washington, we're not getting wind speeds in New Bern, down in Beaufort either, and you say, why is that happening? Well, honestly, the winds have been so strong in these regions, they've damaged the technology to record these winds. You can see we are still getting some sustained of 30 in Cape Hatteras, gusting there to 45 miles per hour. It's gusting to 31 up in Edenton, North Carolina, closer to the tidewater of Hampton Roads, Virginia. 41 miles per hour, a gust in Rocky Mount, 46 in Kingston. So again, these wind gusts continue in the 40s, and it wouldn't surprise me if down towards Beaufort you're still in that hurricane range, your hurricane range wind. There we go. Again, that's 74 miles per hour, and you can see, at least estimated by the Hurricane Center, Jacksonville, North Carolina, Beaufort, all under those hurricane force winds. Now, these tropical storm force winds for our South Carolina viewers are extending down into South Carolina. So again, we are still watching these winds, and here's a futurecast of it. We're still going to continue to see much of these stronger winds continuing from Washington through Rocky Mount down through New Bern and Beaufort for North Carolina.
In the wind? Oh, I haven't heard that term before. Okay. Oh, okay. School me. Bye.
Likely has to do with some heavy usage on Verizon's end. They're probably getting inundated with calls and people checking up on people, so that does tie up the phone lines. And it might bog down on the internet as well, which we're not bogging down their towers, but we are using their towers to broadcast this.
Because the wind is so loud that you can't hear anything out there. If you look out this way, this tree right here snapped while we were on air. It's incredible that it fell that way instead of just a few feet over or just in the other direction, where you can see right here there's a hotel full of people, full of cars in that parking lot as well. So it's amazing that it snapped away from them. We haven't been able to do any moving since this storm started, since we got put in place because of how bad this is. So we don't know what any other damage might look like, but I know that I have heard over the past couple of hours that there were, over the past couple of hours,